So today, I wanted to talk to you about the current situation within Afghanistan. Afghanistan, as you know, has been in the limelight since September 11th, 2001, until maybe recently in August 2021, when America finally withdrew from the area. Um,
Yeah.
we don't hear so much about what's going on now, and that's maybe because other events like what's happening in Russia and Ukraine has taken over in terms of global media. But I'm sure Afghanistan still plays a vital role in the geopolitics of the region. So I wanted to get your point of view, some of your, if you could share your knowledge about what's happening in Afghanistan. But I was thinking what we could do is I want to know what's happening in Afghanistan currently. But before we get into that, maybe we can have a look at historical events. So
Mhm.
to start with, because it seems like decades, um, something or the others currently constantly going on within Afghanistan, which is really unfortunate for the people in Afghanistan. They're amazing, lovely people, but it just seems unfortunate. There's some sort of um, war or um, civil wars. There's lots going on. So if we start from what happened in, is it 1979 when Russia invaded Afghanistan?
Yeah, you know, it's very tragic and unfortunate that whenever Afghanistan has been discussed in international relations, most of the time the country is referred as a graveyard of great empires. Whether it was the Great Britain that when they were colonizing the South Asia and they were interacting with Afghanistan's geography, their experience was not appropriate in terms of political settlement. The same happened when in 1979 the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan due to their own geostrategic proximity. The country again once again faced a lot of turmoil and trouble. Because of all these, developments, the Afghanistan as a country has never been given a consideration that it could become a part of the mainstream world, where development, peace, economic sustainability could be something that could be taken out from for the benefit of the region and the global community as a whole. So that's very unfortunate for the people of Afghanistan that with all their credentials, with all their geostrategic importance, though landlocked, but they have never been able to pitch themselves. They have never been able to place themselves for the benefit of the community, for the international community and the regional community. That is something very, tragic for the sake of the youth of Afghanistan, past, present, and future of Afghanistan. Unfortunately, um, since we in Pakistan interact on regular basis with Afghani youth, so we have been able to understand their pain, suffering from a primary source as a first-hand, witness to that tragedy. But that tragedy is somehow vested or manifested in the geopolitical considerations of global politics. As a result, Afghanistan became a battlefield for global competitions. So 1979 is not different with that. Somehow, when it comes to legally or politically defining what happened in 1979 was a kind of political consensus between the then regime, which was a communist regime ruling in Afghanistan, along with that the regime which was in Soviet Union. We all know that that was a communist regime as well. So that a communist regimes, interaction with another communist regimes was a kind of agreement between those regimes. Those two countries,
Mm-hmm.
the Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union, as well as the Afghanistan. So the invasion is a word which has been crafted and created within the literature by one of the other competitive power, which was the United States at that time. So whenever we talk about these things in a region or with some Afghani people, some of them who follow the legacy of communist manifesto or communism, they usually talk about that it was a kind of agreement that Soviet Union was coming into Afghanistan. It was not an invasion. But when you talk about some of
Yes.
those majority factions, who follow a Western literature or Western perspective, they used to say that no, it was an invasion. So that invasion gets more, aligns with the Islamic perspective, because the Soviets or the communists are not considered a kind of religious
Yeah, there was a big
affiliates.
propaganda at the time of
Yeah,
how
at
we're
that
fighting
time, at
against
that
a
time.
godless regime.
Exactly. So that godless regimes have been seen as a devil's regime, as a regime which is anti-Islam or anti, culture, which majority Muslims of Afghanistan were following. So the Christians world, which is the Western world, that finds more, friendship, more alliance with the Islamic world, because they are godly creatures. They believe on God, and we Muslims believe on God. So that got a natural alliance. So that invasion perspective became a kind of excuse to denounce the then Afghan regime as well as the Soviet Union, because Soviet Union was denounced due to the Truman Doctrine, the containment of communism policy, which was not only happening at that time, it was already happened in Vietnam War, during the Korean War, and at a lot of other places in the world. But 1979 was another time period where the same containment of communism policy came into exercise. So that godless and God-loving, framework of global politics and region politics, as well as the internal dynamics of Afghanistan, got aligned, where Pakistan, where Saudi Arabia, where different groups of Afghanistan came together, and they created a kind of war, which was, that it was a subconventional war, it was a guerrilla war, it was a war which created a kind of chaos in Afghanistan. So the repercussions have been too many, and uh, even still, this region is facing all these things.
True. How long was that the communist regime in Afghanistan? So before the quote unquote the invasion in 1979, how long before that did the regime in Afghanistan come into power? Like, how did Afghanistan have a communist regime to start with?
Well, when it comes to finding out the roots of an ideology, as in context to Afghanistan's political dynamics, you will not find too much sources of that, and then neither you will
Yeah,
be able
no,
to
I have not
find that.
read
Yeah,
much about it. Yeah, you're very right.
yeah, yeah. So that's the biggest reason that Afghanistan's own political dynamics usually shaped its outlook in the region as well as at the global politics, because this is a tribal, country
Hmm.
where Pashtuns are, as a single, community, Pashtuns are in majority. But when you look into the overall demographic dynamics of Afghanistan, you will not find Pashtun as the majority. So non-Pashtun are in majority. That is another outstanding outlook of political and socio-political dynamics of Afghanistan. But normally Afghanistan has been known as a Pashtun country, which is not true, because when you look into Afghanistan's, as I've already said, dynamics, you will find out non-Pashtuns in majority. So Central Asia has been influencing Afghanistan, as well as Iran has been
Yeah.
influencing Afghanistan, and because almost 12 provinces of Afghanistan are bordering with Pakistan.
Mhm.
They're a
Wow, I
huge
didn't know
number.
that.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, there are almost 12 provinces of Afghanistan which border Pakistan, and you will be astonished to know that the Pakistan share around 2,611 kilometers long border with Afghanistan, and these
I was
12
gonna say
provinces are,
it's
yeah,
one of the biggest borders in the world, is it? Or
yeah, somehow it is one of the
yeah.
a kind of landlocked context you can find in South Asia, one of the biggest border, which Afghanistan shares is with Pakistan. Like you will be Nimroz, for example, Helmand, Kandahar, if I correctly remember, Zabul, Paktika, Khost, even Paktiya, Logar, Nangarhar, Kunar, Nuristan, and Badakhshan. These are those
All of
provinces
them are
which are
bordering
actually
Pakistan.
bordering Pakistan. Two provinces of Pakistan are connected with that, like starting from the former FATA region, and now it's merged in Pakistan's KPK province, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. So the
Hmm.
Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, as well as the Balochistan province, is connected with the eastern and southeastern regions with Afghanistan. So it is really amazed at how big geopolitical dynamics are connected with Pakistan at the moment. So that's why Afghanistan's political dynamics are more of a regional, more of internal, discourse. They follow that one rather than they borrow ideologies like communism or capitalism or something else outside the world from outside the world. So you will not be finding communist as a kind of an inheritance within the cultures of Afghanistan. It's not that way. Yeah.
Interesting. As we're recording in audio, would you possibly be able to, for the benefit of our listeners, maybe draw a like a verbal map of the external borders of Afghanistan? As you mentioned, it's a landlocked country. So,
Yeah.
what are the countries bordering Afghanistan?
Yeah. So, as I have already explained that there are around 12, you know, in total, you will find there are around 34 provinces. Afghanistan is divided into 34 provinces. Normally, they call it wilaya as their normal language. So, the provinces of Afghanistan are the primary administrative divisions. Each province usually encompasses a number of districts, or usually they call it villages. So, 1,000 villages are around in each province. Somehow that's a number that we tentatively configure. So among these 34 provinces, the 12 provinces are bordering with Pakistan. So this is the highest number of that. So when it comes to, for example, let's say Iran is another country which borders with Afghanistan. So the Herat province of Afghanistan, which is on the west side, it borders with Iran. Uh, and another province of Afghanistan, which is Nimroz. This province also shares border with Iran in the southwest side of Afghanistan. So along with that, another country which borders with Afghanistan is China,
Hmm.
and the Badakhshan province, which also shares border with Pakistan. So that province also shares a small border with China in the northwest, in the northeast of Afghanistan. So, but that border is situated in the remote and mountainous Wakhan corridor. Normally, we call it. It's a very small 20 kilometers, a very small place. So that's Wakhan corridor, which joins with Afghanistan so with China. Another country, Russia is not at the moment sharing any border with Afghanistan. Usually it used to, because when Central Asia was part of former Soviet Union. So at that time, the ex-Soviet, now ex-Soviet states, as a Central Asia, they share border with Afghanistan. So when you see the same province, which is Badakhshan, which joins China, Pakistan, as well as Tajikistan. So you will find Badakhshan province also shares a border with Tajikistan in the northeast of Afghanistan somehow. So there is another province of Afghanistan which is called Kunduz. That province shares a border with Tajikistan in the north with Afghanistan. Another province, I believe, is Balkh. It's called Balkh. That province shares a border with Uzbekistan in the north. They have another province which is called Faryab. So the Faryab province shares a border with Turkmenistan in the northwest, I believe. So there is another province of Afghanistan which is Jozan. Jozjan, something like that. So
Hmm.
that province shares border with Turkmenistan. So these are the ex-Soviet states, Iran, China, and Pakistan that share border with, Afghanistan's border is stretched over these countries. But
Wow.
as I told you, the 12 most important regions, Pashtun regions, are connected with Pakistan.